What is going on, guys? I am actually. What is going on, guys? I am actually. You have to just go ahead and turn that off. I know this is delayed a little bit, so I am not quite sure how delayed this is. I will actually wait for people to show up if anybody does. If not, we'll get started. Ultimately, one thing I do want to do is kind of just get this thing started off. We are week one. Again, I started off the 4 different pillars. This week being time management. With that being said, I've been trying to scrape together this thing. I'm kind of like essentially, that Ready. What is that book called? It's called Ready, Fire, Aim. Something similar to that. So that's exactly what we're doing today. Just kind of shooting from the hip. I do have some talking points here, but I did check the sound. Want to make sure everything's kind of running smooth. Again, this is a whole new process for me. So going outside of the comfort zone to essentially do this and set this up for everybody, because I want to, again, build a community of people that are essentially leveraging each other's time and improving each other, right? So in this, I can't edit this, so this is just all natural me. So there may be a couple of hiccups along the way, but you know what? That's what we're here for. That's what we're all trying to do. So as far as talking points for today, right? Like, I didn't want to kind of get into like the whole history of time management, all that stuff, right? You guys can look that up. You can Google it, figure it out. I myself, I haven't read the book. I know back in 1911, Frederick Wilson Taylor, right? He was the whole one that essentially generated this time management concept in essentially industrial revolution and started doing all this jazz, right? Wrote the first book on it, essentially trying to make everything more effective. So it's not just about time management. It's about making it more effective, right? Being more efficient ultimately is what we're trying to do. So I myself, I've always tried to make things more efficient before I knew anything about personal development. So that's just the way I've always been. Kind of didn't like sitting in my hands. Again, this is delayed. I do see 2 screens here, so I don't know if there's anybody in here asking a question, so just be forewarned. I do have it on live chat, so if anybody does ask a question randomly, I'll pause. I'll be trying to make sure I can capture anybody's questions or anything like that. But as far as like runtime for this, sorry, kind of jumping all over the place, but as far as like runtime for this, I guess I'm aiming for like 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It all really depends on how it goes, right? Like if we really get it going, maybe we have a good conversation or something like that, that would be something that we could eventually turn into, an hour session, whatever it is, right? I'm pretty game for whatever. I know we're doing a 4-week run here. So again, just kind of putting the feelers out there, see what's going on. Nonetheless, so efficient, right? How to be more efficient. I myself, you can write lists, write down tasks and all these different things. And I find that it does help, right? If you're the kind of person that does that. I'm not the kind of person that likes to schedule it out. I do write it out so I can kind of see what's going on. I do believe you have to audit essentially your schedule on everything. I do have a list here of like essentially how I broke it down, right? Like you're going to have your goals on specific things you want to achieve in life. And then ultimately you'll break that big goal down, right? Because it's typically a bigger goal. And you break it down into smaller chunks into what essentially you want to achieve, right? What are your daily things that you can do to achieve that goal? And breaking that down, right? So you just start auditing your time, see where your time is going. I think that's a big thing, like myself. That's why I came up with the thing that I chose this week, because I've caught myself, right? Like I had mentioned about going on Facebook and trying to make it educational. So I'm not just going on there and looking at some comedy skit or something, right? And then be like, oh, this is cool. And then, there goes 30, 40 minutes. I've been doing that lately. And that's why I chose it this week, because, it's one of those big time suckers for me. And for the most time, right, the most idea here. Sorry, I'm kind of fumbling over my words, but I'm kind of all over. So let me try to reframe everything that's going on here. So essentially with Facebook, it is taking a lot of my time, or taking more time than I would like it to. Again, I'm really pretty effective on all the time that I use and what I dedicate to. And by doing that, again, I kind of, again, get that goal. I break it down, do that daily task, but I don't write it down, right? I slowly increment myself into these new changes. And I think that's the best way of doing it to be more efficient, is to not just take everything on as a whole. Because when you start taking stuff on as a whole, like, it can be really tough, and it can be too much. It can be overwhelming, right? So ultimately I take that goal, I break it down daily task, and then I start executing on that thing, right? So I'm trying to essentially pave the way, because right now, right, you got to wire your brain to do that, because it's not used to doing these things. So ultimately, I will start essentially incorporating that thing. I dedicate that time. Again, I have that daily task, and I make sure it's executed. And I think one of the biggest things to being proficient, to help in time management and being effective and achieving those goals, is essentially, okay, I have this task, right? I had a bigger task. I broke it down to a daily task. And then when it comes up, I just execute on it. And that's what I do, right? Like I eliminate the thought process and just execute on it. Now that's easier said than done, right? Like I haven't always been, I know some people aren't that way. Like people will procrastinate. And that's ultimately what I talk about a lot of times, is trying to eliminate that thought process. And as soon as it pops in your mind, just execute. That's one of the most effective ways I've always found to be effective, right? And to be productive, is when it comes into your mind, is to jump in and start knocking out those tasks that you have, right? And maybe there's something that came up. Maybe it's kind of person thing that writes things down. I know that does help me, right? Like I set up a lot of stuff on my phone too. So if there's reminders on stuff, like I have kids, I have all these other different things. So what I try to do is I'll set it up in my phone. I'll set those things up. So, and I remind myself, I think like an hour, depending on what the event is, because, sometimes like I want to be aware of it in case I have to prep for anything a couple days in advance, and then have, like hour, 15 minutes. I mean, I've always been that way. Being in the military, you always show up 15 minutes, 20 minutes early, especially being in the field that I'm in now, being in software development. People come like 15 minutes late, and I'm like, they're 15 minutes early. Like, where is everybody? And then right at the bell, people start coming in. So it was adjustment nonetheless, right? Time management, all right? That's what we're trying to do, is be effective here. And so nonetheless, so I dedicate that time, and it's just executing on those tasks, right? And I think that's ultimately what's going to help you be effective with your time. And for me, that's what I've always done. I wasn't always like that. I've always been good with my time. I've always been pretty structured. I mean, even at a young age, before I even went in the military, a lot of people say the military changed them, and I kind of adopted that whole mindset and time management stuff beforehand. And I think that was just because of the way my father was. So nonetheless, here I am, and there's always room for improvement. So that's why I wanted to do this Underdog experiment, to essentially to do that, is to sorry, I started looking at some other jazz, but but it's to essentially to be more productive, right? So with that being said, again, let's flip back. We're flipping the script back to Facebook and Twitter, right? Again, I try to make those places educational and saving time, right? I try to essentially allow myself to not get sucked in that. And today, right, or yesterday, a good example for prep for this, what I did was I took the app where it typically was, where it's like, you get like 20 million different screens on there. I took the app, the Facebook, and I took the Twitter, and I essentially moved it over, right? I moved it down to a completely different screen that, excuse the train, but a completely different screen to where I didn't see it, right? I did end up going on there today. Facebook, I posted kids video, all that fancy jazz, being a dad and whatnot. But then what ultimately happened was I posted that on there and I made sure I just closed everything out and I was done, right? So trying to keep that mindset. And tomorrow, I think it's incremental, right? Like trying to be efficient is an incremental thing. And just taking something from black to white is just not going to happen. I think you definitely hurt yourself more when you do that. And again, your brain is not wired to essentially accept that, right? Like it's not going to accept that at all. It's going to tell you, what do you think you're doing to me, right? Like this isn't going to happen. We're going to make this fail now because this is just not working out. So again, that's what I'm concentrating on in time management is eliminating Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, not so much. Again, I was never a big fan of Twitter, but I use it for stock stuff. So I did catch myself a couple times on there today, just kind of glancing at some stuff. Again, I try to make it quick, and again, the same thing like with Facebook. So that's what I'm doing this week. What I'm planning on actually doing. I know yesterday I talked about having that pinned comment down below the video, and that's what I'm going to do today is kind of update on this live. Once this live uploads, I'm not quite sure how this works on here. This is again my first time doing this, so once this uploads, I'll go in there and jot down some notes on what I'm doing for this week. I know I have a lot of stuff on there. I didn't kind of go this over in the thing yesterday, but the video yesterday, but I jotted some extra things down for the extra pillars. I don't think you should do that, right? Like I've done a lot of this stuff, so I've been more efficient on a lot of this stuff. If you feel like it's too much to handle, to try to handle all 4 pillars at one time, again, just take one step at a time and breaking it down right to that daily task and just execute on that one thing. And you'll realize that by doing that, right, like after a couple of weeks, you become proficient at it. It kind of soaks in. You kind of set that pathway. And then once that's done, then typically you can incorporate more things, add another pillar in there and whatnot. So again, time efficiency. I started looking at some other things about like blocking your time and making sure that you execute on those. I do believe in that. If there's something specific, like I have my normal routine day, right? Like I'll work, and then I am a single father. So what ultimately happens is I have those responsibilities on top of it. But I know cutoff date, right? Like, okay, kids are in bed, bam. What do I have to do from there? Next thing next thing on my list is I have to work out, right? Like that's important to me. Same with like meditation and all those other things. So I just go out and I execute on it, and then I'm done with it, right? And so that's what I do ultimately. And so I think that's like anything, like on the weekends when I don't have my kids, I do that. Like first thing in the morning, I like to get my workout regimen done. And then I start, doing videos. I start writing my script for my videos, which that in itself, I mean, there's a lot of things I can improve on there as well. So, but I wanted to try out this live video. As far as like people skill goes, I know we're not on that week yet, but this is something I've wanted to do. Again, I've tried it on Instagram. I used to have Instagram. I still do have an Instagram. It is, as of right now, it's inactive. But I did a lot of live stuff on there, and it was nerve-wracking, right? So this is, again, YouTube seems a little bit easier than Instagram. I've kind of gotten over that hurdle now, so it's just trying to be more proficient at it and whatnot. So again, time management. In this description here, I do have my top 5 books. I do also have some books that I've personally read. The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss, if you haven't heard of it. That book, I don't even know if I did a book review on that book, but it essentially helps you become more efficient, right? It has some good concepts in there that you can apply to your life. I think some of them, I think he tries to automate it a little bit too much. And, I work in the world of automation right now, so it's kind of like you can go get a bit overboard, right? It doesn't help you in automating stuff so much, right? I think it can actually do more harm than good. So That book I have down there. Again, I think it's a good read if you're trying to be more efficient. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. That was also a book I read. Both of these books I've read a long time ago. That's probably why I don't have a book review on them. I do have to reread them. Again, I didn't read a lot of time management books. I've always been, again, pretty good. Like if it's something I need to do, I go and I attack and I get done. Essentially because I don't want to do it, right? I think that's like some of the things that, like, especially like working out on days you don't want to work out. Like I don't want to do it all the time, but I want to achieve goals. So what do I have to do? Well, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go ahead and just knock it out, right? So that's essentially being efficient with your time. Is stopping the procrastination, right? And essentially, right, like there's a lot of times, like I just want to relax, but like there's sometimes I think I just so overdrive, and that's another thing too, right? Is like focusing on like one thing. I think a lot of times you become overwhelmed with a bunch of different things, and that in itself can do a lot. That in itself will ultimately stop you from being efficient with your time, is having too much on your plate. So those things that you really, really want, right? Like 2 or 3 things that you really want, especially if you're just starting out and trying to be more efficient, start with one thing and essentially master that one thing. When you can master that one thing, then, the rest of it just kind of falls in place. But nonetheless, going off cue here again, that's why I kind of like these live streams, because it's unedited, just all natural, right? That's what we're doing here. So Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. This book I read a long time ago. Major concepts is breaking down, like kind of like what I said, the big goals into smaller goals. It does have a lot of other time efficiency stuff in there, but it's a good read, right? If you want a book on that, and it kind of again breaks down bigger goals into smaller ones, so you can execute them and then just focus on that thing. And another book I didn't list in there, and it's kind of really not time management, but it does follow along the lines of executing tasks, right? I don't even remember what the book is. Let me see if I can look it up right now. It's a good book. I do have a book review on this book, actually. It's one of my favorite books. Let's see if I can find it. The scrolling is ridiculous. Oh, here it is. Coming Out of the Ice by Victor Herman. That book is essentially about an American that moves over to Russia and then goes and lives in all the different camps and stuff. But it's an actual fantastic book, right? The Unexpected Life of Victor Herman. Back in 1931, his dad essentially moved him over there, and he's been in the Soviet prison camp. And so what I liked from that book and how you can essentially apply it is by executing, right? Like he lives, like he's been through all this jazz, right? And like for whatever reason, he still makes it out. He still makes it out of this camp. And it takes him a lifetime to get back to the U.S., which I think when he got back, he only lived like a couple of years. He got married and he only lived a couple of years. And back when he got back to America, he ended up passing away. But I mean, his story is phenomenal. But it's just his focus, right, on just essentially executing the task. Just focus on the task. What do I need to do? Just execute it. Focus on the task. Execute. What's my next task? What's my next task? And I've kind of really taken that approach, and not hearsay by this book, but just by in life, right? Is essentially doing that. So that's ultimately what I got out of that book, and so I did enjoy that a lot. But again, as far as like, let's see what we got. What other effective things? I did talk about focus on one thing. I think that's important. Again, I feel like I've probably taken on a lot too much at one point. So it's something I have to work on is trying to not take so much on. And again, it takes away your focus, and that efficiency goes out the window when you got way too many things. You can't focus, and then you're essentially half-assing a lot of different things, which you shouldn't be doing. But again, this is some of the big concepts I have. throughout this. This is one of the biggest ideas that I've really found that have really helped me. I don't really have anything else. Again, we have this. I'll have the premiere on everything on Sundays. Today, I'll essentially have a session. Hopefully, it looks like I have one viewer. Maybe I had two at one point. It's hard to tell right now, but nonetheless, we'll do this on Monday. Fridays, I'll kind of go over how I've essentially, and everybody, it's not just me, right? Like I'm just here. I'm just a person behind the camera. Like there's other people here, right? Hopefully there's other people here by Friday. Or read this or see this live stream, and we'll try to make it Friday, and then hopefully by next week we can get some more people a little bit more interactive. But ultimately have the feedback session on Friday, go over what it is that we've learned throughout the week, what I've learned about Facebook and Twitter and not having it for a week, and hopefully, completely cut it off tomorrow. That's what my hope is, right? I'm pretty good at thinking of it the day before. I think that's another good efficiency tip right there, is thinking of it the day before. Okay, well, I'm going into tomorrow. This is what I plan on doing, right? These are my tasks, right? I have my normals. If I have that new thing, and I concentrate on that task, and then I find I can navigate it better when I do that and not allow myself to forget that, right? And essentially knock that out. So hopefully tomorrow, there'll be absolutely no Facebook, no Twitter. I didn't really find the need for it today, right? I think it was more just kind of like an instantaneous thing, like, hey, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start looking at it. So that's what I'm going to do, right? It wasn't like I had no need to go there, obviously. I posted a video on there today on Facebook, but I mean, there was no need for me to actually go on there and do anything. So there was another thing I wanted to talk about too, as far as this whole process goes. So Friday, we'll do that. We'll have the feedback, and then if there's any interaction or whatever, kind of relay that into the premiere on Sundays, and give some pointers and tips and stuff like that. So hopefully that will work out. And then again, in this live feed, what I'm going to do is update everything down below. Currently like a daily log, right? And then hopefully everybody else does the same thing. That's what I'm trying for here, is to get everybody else to do the same thing and log, their goals of the week and steps. Again, don't overload your plates. Keep it simple, one thing, right? We want to take baby steps to essentially get to the point to where you want to get. And that's what it takes, is the baby steps and making sure you're executing that one step every day. And then when you become proficient at it, when it becomes the norm, then you move on from there. So that's that. That's, again, what I'm doing in the description. I think the description in this video, as it is streaming now, is pretty good. I don't think I'll be touching anything in there. Any feedback from you guys, what you may actually want, and in description, comments, all that stuff, phenomenal, right? Whatever you guys need, just let me know. That's what I'm here for. Is, I felt like I've done a lot in my life, seen a lot, and experienced a lot. So just trying to provide my feedback, help you guys out the best that I can, and get this thing rolling and improving our lives, right? And coming on here, joking, and realize you don't have to be so serious, because I know a lot of self-development guys on here I see are always so serious, and I know myself, even on my videos, when I'm editing them, I can. It's a trip, because I know I'm not that way, but I can get pretty serious in my videos, and I'm not all that way. I joke. I like to have fun, and I think it helps with that efficiency and enjoying what you're doing, right? I think that's ultimately that, but that's a whole other conversation, video topic, and I mean, maybe later down the road we can start looking at those other things. I mean, last night I think I slept like 3 hours last night, because I had like all these thoughts and ideas and brainstorming. And you get the engine running, and then all of a sudden it doesn't want to stop, right? It just keeps going. So, but that's what I have here. Again, I think Friday, sorry about Wednesday. I I didn't feel it wouldn't be effective, right? Since this first week is about time management. Again, I think it's a good thing to start out this week is time management and figure out where you can make yourself more efficient. And again, the whole focus thing, having multiple things going on, I think that's another thing I could probably work on this week. I just started thinking about that. Like, man, I got so much going on. I got to do this, got to do that. And then my calendar was like filled up and I was like, okay, well, I got to focus on those things that I really want to get done and make sure those get done. And then a lot of these other things can drop off. Maybe or figure out another way to do it. But ultimately, I would like to keep this thing rolling, right? If we get some people in here, having some fun, learning about some new stuff, helping each other out. And I want to kind of see where I can guide the channel too a little bit. Right now, I'm kind of just ranting here. So by any means, if you feel like you don't need to stick around, whatever, this is a complete rant session and so on. So I think I got one viewer. Maybe I'm just talking to myself. I like to talk to myself. I was never this way. Believe me, 100% not this way. But I mean, if you can give me the mic, right? Like I'm gonna lay it down. So that's what we're doing. That was essentially the start of the Underdog experiment here. So that's what we are doing. Again, I will see you guys on Friday. I look forward to you guys contributing. I really hope you guys can start contributing and adding comments down below. Again, I will be maintaining this video, the video comment that I post on here throughout the week, right? A running log. That's what we got to have. Keep each other accountable. That's what we're trying to do. Keeps me accountable, helps me out too. So that's what we're looking for. So on that note, I think as of right now, we are good. I'm hoping the whole stream thing is good. I don't know how long it's going to take to upload, but I think I've ranted enough. I think we're about at 30 minutes. We're close to it. We're cutting it close. It's about 27, 33, 34, 30. Yeah, we're cutting it pretty close. But nonetheless, it's good. Good conversation. I know even like with the live chat, it could be, if there's specific questions or whatever, eventually we'll get to that point to where everybody's interacting and just helping people out best that I can. Experiences that I have, questions. Questions. Looks like I have one viewer. You have any questions? It is delayed a little bit, so if you are typing a question, I cannot see it. Again, this is a whole new process. When I did start, I checked my phone and I had that feedback, so I had to shut off. But so I couldn't tell if how much of a delay there was. So again, if you see a delay or anything like that, let me know. Again, I'm still getting used to the software and everything, so I'm hoping to get my DSLR as well set up, so I'm not using this webcam. I mean, if you want to see my pretty face, I guess it's pretty, but I can blow up the picture or add, sparklies in the background or something like that, or something to keep you focused, or some personal development stuff. We can do all that. I mean, we can list all of the top 10 books on there. I mean, it's whatever you want to make it, right? That's what we're here to do, is to make a good community and have fun, because that's what it's about. So again, thank you guys. Thanks. Shout out to all the 500 subscribers. I know we're at 507 last time I checked. So shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. Hope everybody can improve themselves. I know, especially during a time like this, I think that's also kind of why I want to do this whole thing. Again, I'm ranting, so if you feel you're getting no benefit out of this, you can always just cut it off. But nonetheless, again, I know there's a lot going on right now, so it's a good place to just kind of chillax, maybe just some hangout sessions, right? That's also personal development. I get to know people. Networking is a big one too, right? That's all personal development stuff, and we can network through here. We can do a bunch of different things, right? I've been thinking about doing some interviews and stuff like that. So again, it's the only kind of place where I can rant, because if I can't really rant in my videos, people just drop off. It's noticeable when they drop off. So nonetheless, I think right there, we shall cut it. We made 30 minutes. So that's awesome. You guys rock. Ignite mindset, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we're pumping. That's what we're pumping is an ignite mindset to improve our lives in which way we see fit, because it is unique to each and every one of us. We all define success essentially by our own terms. And I'm not one here to tell you if you're successful or not, right? But we're all here to learn. We're all here to help each other out, make our lives better. So again, 30 minutes. I'm glad I made that 4. I wasn't even sure I was going to make that 4, to be honest. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know if we were going to get flooded with tons of people in here. People were excited. I was so excited. Again, yesterday I didn't sleep a lot. But I'm looking forward to Friday. See what Friday brings. Maybe we'll get some more people on here. I know it is Monday night, 9 o'clock. Nonetheless, again, thank you guys. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.